Okay, we're going to get started. Thank you, everybody. Good morning, everybody on the West Coast. Good afternoon, everybody else. Thank you for taking time to spend with us today. We decided last week to put together a panel of experts to help share some ideas to help everybody get through these challenges times. My name is Eddie Talk. I'm the CEO of Rex Roundtables. We run mastermind groups for the fitness industry for the last 31 years, 2,700 clubs in over 25 countries. On today's webinar, we have over 475 people. Over 200 of them are Rex members, staff, and Rex trusted suppliers. So welcome, everybody. The past few weeks, we've been doing, on an average week, 15 conference calls of 90 minutes each with all of our Rex members to keep them engaged and help the value. And we decided to take some of the experts and share some of their ideas with you today. First, Brent Darden, who is a former club owner for 10 years, past president of URSA, 5 years of Rex chairperson with us, is going to be our facilitator for today. And then Glory Smith, vice president of Villa Sport, former URSA board member as well, has clubs out in the West Coast. Joe Cerulli, owner of Gainesville Health and Fitness Clubs, only club owner ever on the cover of Inc. magazine and rated in the top 25 places by Forbes to work anywhere in the US. And then last but sometimes least, one of my good friends, Robert Brewster from the Alaska Clubs, again, another former URSA board president as well as Joe is. So with this, I'm going to turn it over to Brent. And if everybody can please put themselves on mute, if you haven't done that already, except for the panelists, that'd be great. Thank you.
Yep. Thank you, Eddie. I'm Brent, in spite of the fact that it says Eddie Talk below my photo. This is really Brent. I will be facilitating the group today, and I want to start first with just letting each of them, let everybody know a little bit about their business model, their club concepts, a little bit about what type of club offering they have. So I'll let Lori start, and then we'll Robert and then Joe finish up.
Thanks, Brent. Hi, everyone. My name is Lori Smith. Good morning from California. I run Villa Sport Athletic Clubs and Spa. We have 7 high-end resort-style multi-purpose clubs across 4 states. We have all our clubs are currently closed. We had just grand opened our newest club in Katy, Texas, about 12 days before we had to close. Back in 2017, we had just grand opened our previous newest club in Cypress, Texas, the month before Hurricane Harvey hit. So from now on, I think we're going to steer clear of Texas because disasters keep tending to follow us every time we open a club there. Our we closed our 2 California and our 1 Colorado club as of midnight on March 16th, and our 3 Houston area and 1 Oregon club as of midnight on March 17th. And that's it for Villa Sport.
Okay, thank you, Lori. Robert?
Good afternoon. My name is Robert Brewster. I'm the CEO of the Alaska Clubs. We have 15 multi-purpose locations here in Alaska. Well, actually, I should correct that. We have mostly multi-purpose, family-centered clubs. We also have fitness-only locations. We also have studios. A lot of our clubs are 24-hour. We also have 1 what we call luxury location. In addition to that, we also operate 2 trampoline parks that have also been affected, and a home fitness equipment store, which is booming right now. So we're running the full gambit of business operations. We have about 1,000 employees, and we've been closed in most of our clubs for about 2 weeks, followed quickly by the rest of them about 4 days later. So we're at least 2.5 weeks into our closures right now.
Okay, thanks, Robert. All right, Joe, you want to finish that up?
First of all, hello, everybody. My clubs are located in Gainesville, Florida. We have 3 clubs, different sizes from 14,000 square feet to 80,000 square feet. Also have 2 orthopedic rehabilitation centers in Gainesville. And I have 2 boutique studios down in the Tampa Bay area. We've got about a little over 28,000 members and 500 employees. Friday, this coming Friday, it'll be 2 weeks that we would have been closed. My orthopedic rehabilitation centers have been able to stay open because it's part of a medical necessity. My boutique studios down in the Tampa area have also been able to remain open because we'll always have 10 or less people inside of the facilities. So that's a little bit about us.
Okay, great. Thank you. Well, for those of you on the that are participating today, thank you again for attending. These are three of the top industry leaders in our business. They're very successful operators. They're forward-thinking thought leaders, and so hopefully you'll get some great ideas and feedback from them today. We're going to talk on several different subjects. I'd like to start first with talking about financial management. That's a thing that everybody's considering right now. People are a little bit in the survival mode. How do we stay afloat financially so that we're prepared to open when the time comes? And so I'd like to maybe throw it to Robert first. And Robert, if you could share with the group some things you're doing around managing the financial viability of your business related to pursuing loans, layoffs, rent abatement across the board. And we'll let each of the panelists respond to that. But I'll start with you, Robert.
Thanks, Brent. So financial management to me has come a little bit of surprise for not just our industry, but almost every other industry. As we've watched this COVID-19 pandemic kind of unfold, we've been very critical of the medical industry for not planning or being properly prepared for something like this happening. But at the same time, I've yet to find a business that properly prepared or was actively positioning themselves to survive this better, certainly not on an intentional basis. And for me, I think the most important thing for everybody in business to do right now is to start with understanding where they are, understanding their cash position. In the end, this is really going to be a cash flow problem. So you really have to understand where you begin, what resources you have, i.e. cash or other assets that you can use, and then move forward from there. And then once you've done that, I think it's important to have a good understanding of what your assumptions are. I've talked to club owners who are thinking, yeah, I've got it planned out for the next month. I have other people who have planned it out. They think that it's going to last 6 months. In the lockdown, and then it's going to open up. So there's all kinds of ideas as to how this is going to go down. But I think each club has to make their best guess, because I believe that's largely what it is, and understand how long they need to go. Then once they've done that, they need to really do everything they can to stop the cash burn, first and foremost. And then once, there's a lot of ways we can talk about that later, but there's lots you can do with your landlords, your insurance carriers, utilities, labor, going down through other services that you're currently using. And I think there's also an opportunity, and people should be thinking upfront about their most important asset, or at least what we consider our most important asset at the Alaska Club, which is the dues stream. And be very careful about the way that you administer your business right now and the decisions you make, because they might have a massive adverse effect when you come out of this, or when we're able to start operating again. So, and then of course, what seem to be the most popular targets right now for relief are lenders and landlords. And I think my experience so far in talking to landlords is that they understand how difficult this is for everybody, and they, by and large, have been very cooperative.
Okay.
And then the last thing I would say about that is be an information junkie. Stay very well connected to what's going on with the CARES Act in particular, but also at a state and local level as well, to see what kind of relief you can get.
Yeah, Robert, to that end about the landlord work, the things I'm hearing from most clubs is that a lot of them are getting able to abate their rent for 3 to 4 months. Often they're asking for 6, and then the landlords are pushing back a little bit. But by and large, most of the clubs I've spoken with have been able to get their rent abated. Just to add on to what you're saying. And then I want to get a little more clarification. You were talking about clubs sort of modeling out and the fact that some are doing it for a short period of time, some for 6 months. If you were to pick sort of how long you would model financially out the future, what would you recommend?
Well, I think it's always a good idea to go a little more bad case scenario than to estimate the threat. And so, but on the other hand, we also don't want to take such draconian measures that we damage that due stream, for example, or the business in some way, because we think this is going to go so long, we have to take even more aggressive measures. So this is going to be a fluid document. But to answer your question specifically, I'm looking at this right now as a 3-month shutdown and a really slow, anemic recovery.
Okay.
For let's say another 3 to 6 months.
Okay, thank you, Robert. Lori, can you add anything to Robert's comments about sort of what Villa Sport's been doing financially to help manage their cash flow and the business?
Sure. I won't repeat anything he said, but I do agree with his view on what the timeline of this will be, and that's what we're planning on. We're planning that our clubs will be back open for summer, which means that even while we're closed now, we have to prepare for all the events, the programs, all the summer hiring we do. Even though we're not interviewing in person, we're doing it on phone and Skype and not making any offers, but just identifying final candidates so that when the time comes, we are able to move forward and be prepared for summer. Also, our company Villa Sport is a division of a company called Safe Enterprises, which has other businesses like restaurants, a golf course, commercial and residential real estate. So we're on both sides of the rent abatement. On the one hand, for all our operating businesses, we're asking for rent abatement. On the other hand, our commercial real estate division is dealing with tons of requests for rent abatement.
Right. Okay. Joe?
Well, a lot of times, people have asked me what motivates you most, and I said fear. And but I mean fear in a positive way. And what I'll say right now won't do a lot of places any good now, but hopefully it'll help them do good in the future. You know, I worked for 6 different companies that went bankrupt when I first got in the business, that I learned what it was like, you know, to live in closed down buildings and live in my car and have no money at all. So that once I did start my own business, I started saving immediately. I remember he used to always say, he goes, look, there's a silver bullet in outer space that's looking for the back of your head and will hit you just at the right moment. So I've worked to prepare for that. And the only reason I'm telling you that is because this should be a humongous wake-up call to everybody if you have not had a savings plan in place to protect your company if anything like this should ever happen again. So the first thing I did was I got with my CFO. We looked at all the cash we had in our accounts, the reserves that we had, and then we started looking at how much revenue will continue to come in the door if everybody paid. Then if 25% didn't pay, and then if 50% didn't pay, so that we could monitor how much cash we would always have on hand. So that was number one. So we have payroll coming up. Matter of fact, I have half my team here going through all the payroll accounts so we can pay everybody as if they have worked over the last few weeks while we were closed, based upon what they made the week before or the 2 weeks before. At the same time, a number of employees have worked so hard to get all the facilities, everything in order for when we reopen, that we're setting it up so they're going to be receiving bonuses on top of the normal pay that they would have received. Now, at the same time, we've gone online and we've got all the information together on dealing with the CARES Act, and we've already been working with the bank. We already started filling out forms because we'll get a multi-million-dollar loan to have us back up to everything that we're doing, and then we'll have all the processes in place so that by the time we get through all this, we can get reimbursed. I'm not planning on the government being able to reimburse us this year, but being able to reimburse us by next year, and but having the cash available to be able to take care of everybody. Because to me, there's a series of things that we're doing, but to me, the most important thing is my relationship with the staff and them knowing that they don't have to worry about receiving a paycheck.
Thanks, Joe. Let's segue exactly off of that, because that's sort of our next sort of subtopic, talking about what you're doing with staff. So have you laid staff off? Are you continuing to pay them? How are you keeping the staff engaged? Are you doing special projects? So Joe, you just want to keep the mic and maybe continue down that path first?
Well, first of all, once we closed the door, we had all kinds of projects to work on. And the response of the staff has been unbelievable. We've done everything that had to be done in our parking lot, and we got parking for 500 cars in our parking lot. Massive amount of mulching, taking care of the trees, everything. Inside, I knew we were making good progress when they were cleaning the grout lines and all the tile. So everything was to keep them going. So that was the first thing. But when you talk about the finance end, then the communication to the members becomes critical, because we let our members know that we are going to continue to keep paying.
Yep. Let's hold off on the member part first.
Okay.
Anything else about the staff you want to share, though?
The other part of it is we're calling all of the staff. All the department leaders are in contact with them, and I have a whole list of the staff that I'm calling just to make sure they're doing okay and understand we still plan on this being over and being back to full force.
Thank you. I think that's a great idea. I know several of my other Rex Roundtable members have done the same. If you're a small enough independent club, I don't think Lori and Robert could probably pull this off, but if you are, maybe a personal phone call to all your staff, is just an awesome leadership example. So let's jump back to you, Lori. What's Villasport doing with their staff regarding layoffs and continuing engagement?
Sure. Currently, all our hourly staff are still employed, but they have a temporary reduction in hours to 0. All our salaried managers, which is about 14 to 16 per club, are still employed. And what we've set up in all our markets is a 24/7 coverage of the building. The managers rotating on 3 8-hour shifts per day. We've set up pods of the group of 15 or so no more than 5 per pod, so that they're only interacting with those, because if, God forbid, someone tested positive for coronavirus, we wouldn't want to have to quarantine the entire team. So we're minimizing that. And then obviously, while they're in the club, they're following all the social distancing, disinfecting, only using certain bathrooms, sort of thing. But our clubs are huge. They're 90 to 100,000 square feet. So what they're doing during the 24/7 is maintaining the security of the building. We have had a couple of attempts at vandalism in the 2 weeks we've been closed. They're monitoring all the emails and phone calls and answering them both reactively and proactively. They're doing social media posts. They're filming Group X and fitness videos to put on YouTube. They're, what are some of the other things they're doing? Well, they're planning for summer and getting prepared, assuming we're going to open in summer. And then, of course, deep cleaning projects across the club. So our Vice President of Facilities Management sent all teams this exhaustive list of everything they're to check on every day, but everything they did at the point we closed in terms of turning down heaters and shutting off breakers to all the cardio equipment we are trying to cut every non-essential expense to the bone and lower our utilities as much as possible.
Okay, great. Robert, how about you?
So, we consider the situation to be fluid, and for the first week and a half, we did go ahead and pay the entire staff as we normally would. We've now moved to a scenario where we're paying 30% of their normal wage, averaged over the last 2 payroll periods. And the reason that I changed that, and I'm not sure what the situation is in every other state, but we quickly figured out that retaining employees would be detrimental to their financial well-being. So what we've done is we've furloughed people, which made them eligible for unemployment. And with the $600, well, both the unemployment that they would be eligible for under the state of Alaska, plus the $600 a week federal stimulus check, those folks are literally going to be making more money than they would if they were full-time employees. So we've had to make even though we are still supplementing their income, we figured out pretty quickly that in taking advantage of those programs made a lot of financial sense for them as well as for us. And so that's where we're at on payroll. All full-time salaried people are still on the payroll. I have about 75% part-timers and full-timers, and we're continuing to make that supplemental payment to both the full-time and part-time folks. But we've had people very busy up until this point. Our marketing department, we think, is critical and still going strong, although we've curtailed marketing for membership purposes. We've cranked up our social initiatives. We've done something with the children's lunchbox. It's been insanely rewarding for us, and we've been on every network in Alaska as a result. So it's something I'd be happy to talk to people about later. But we are doing a lot of things with streaming. We have had some very, very successful programs, particularly centered around kids PE. We've had tens of thousands of views on our streaming programs there. The maintenance staffs are still working. Basically what we've done is we've analyzed our capital projects and determined which ones are the ones that need to be done while the facilities are not operating. And
Sure.
so we've done a lot of work in the women's locker rooms. We've undertaken a large IT project. And so there's lots to do in the shutdown, although I anticipate that those activities will curtail to some degree as we go further along in this pandemic.
Yeah. Okay, let me jump back to you, Lori, and let's segue from there to you. Briefly touched on the fact that you offered membership options to members to allow them to continue paying, or some of the other options. And I know Robert and Joe are doing something like that, but I'll let you start. There's really sort of a divide in the industry. Some clubs are choosing not to charge members at all, and they cut off billing, and others are offering options, much like Villa Sport is, giving the consumer the chance to make that choice. So can you share with the group sort of how you position that first, and then if you have any numbers to speak to how that's going over, how it's being received? Let's start with that.
Sure. So prior to closing, we had a lot of members requesting to go on freeze because they were uneasy coming to the club. So we changed our freeze policy and allowed anyone to go on a complimentary freeze for any time. And it started out at 30 days, and then it extended to 60 days. And then once we closed, we reached out to all the members and said, hey, we have two great options for your membership during this time. One is you could continue as an active dues paying member. And then at the end, once we reopen, we'll take that amount of dues that you paid during the time we were closed and give it back to you in the form of a Villa Sport gift card worth 125% of your dues. Kind of like with the stock market doing what it's doing, where else can you get a 25% return on your money? Or if you need to go on freeze, it's complimentary and it'll continue until the day we reopen. And then, of course, we didn't bring up cancellation, but if someone said, neither of those two options works for me for whatever reason, I really want to cancel my membership, it was fine. We handled that for them and refunded all their money. Also in the freeze option, if anyone needed a refund for prorated March dues right now, we gladly gave it to them. Otherwise, that would sort of carry over and all be figured out in the wash when we reopened and what dues they'd be charged. I would say the vast majority of our members are choosing the freeze option. Maybe between 5 and 10% canceling, probably about 60% freezing, and then the remaining paying dues. Now, however, not everybody opened all their emails. So we are about to do our dues billing tomorrow for April, and that could wake some people up that hadn't proactively made a choice.
Okay. What about the Alaska clubs, Robert? What I know you're doing something similar, but not quite the same.
Yes, what we've done is, of course, trying to be ultra conservative, even though we had good cash on hand. I think it's important to build that as much as possible. So rather than put everybody's account on hold while we're closed, I wanted to invoke a program where if people wanted to choose that option, they certainly could. But we also gave them two other options, hoping that they would help us basically establish some additional working cash. And so what we did was we had three options. One, you could freeze you didn't have to do anything. We would just, if you chose that option, we would not bill you for the remainder of the shutdown. Two, we realized very early on in the chatter that what people seemed to be the most concerned about in the shutdown was what was going to happen with the employees and the people that were working in the company. So we obviously were very concerned about that as well, wanted to be able to continue paying however we could. And so we leveraged that, and we put an option out there where if they paid us now, we would give them a free month at the end of their membership term, and we would then use that money to pay employees. And so that was option two. And then the third option is we're using Promotion Vault, and we're offering an e-gift certificate when we open for 115% of the value of their membership dues paid. So we're willing to, pay a little extra later to make sure we have the cash flow to survive now.
And Robert, under that program that you mentioned, the 115% gift card, that's open to other businesses outside your club, right? It's almost like a credit card.
They can use an e-certificate, I think, at about 900 different vendors. We, and just to break that down, we know exactly where we're at. We've got, of the people who've responded so far, 52% have chosen to go on hold on their account. 30% have taken the e-card option, and about 20% have taken, or excuse me, 18% have pay now, get a month later option.
Okay, great. Okay, Joe, I know
Well,
you're.
first of all, the thing we had to do was we closed on a Friday. By Saturday, we had a message that we emailed and posted on the social medias and put on our website about all the options that the people had. Like Robert, the first thing we told them was our first responsibility is to our staff to make sure that they're taken care of. Then we gave them the options. One option was, well, first of all, we told everybody we would be extending everybody's membership time for whatever period of time that we're closed down. Second of all, if they wanted to continue to keep paying, we appreciated it, and we would use that to take care of the staff. And as Robert was saying, the response from the members on that has been amazing, how important that was to them. We also gave the opportunity, if they want to, we would freeze their time and their dues, if that was a choice they wanted. The third thing was they could cancel, and that was based, and we told them it's based upon the laws of the state of Florida, which we have to abide by. Now, just as you were saying, Laura, tomorrow you're going to be doing pulling your dues, and we had one pull on Monday. We had a number of calls, but with the people I have at my office, I have 5 people answering the phone. I have one person who's going through all the voicemails and responding to the emails. So we're responding to everybody. But when they call, because as you said, not everybody opens their emails, not everybody sees the social media, not everybody goes to your website. And so it's like, oh, wow, they took my dues. Well, when they call, we're telling them all the options that we have. Now, I'm going to tell you, out of all the members that I have, we've had about 10 cancellations, and 8 of them were because people were moving, not because they were canceling because of this situation. But the bottom line is we can now work with every member individually, whatever their issues may be, And that's what we're doing. That's what we're working on full time.
Yeah, there's there's certainly a different dynamic, I think, between the independent clubs. Even if you're operating multiple sites, like all three of you are, you're still sort of independent or regional versus sort of the national chains who have all sort of stopped billing dues and closed their clubs and laid off employees. So I'm wondering with the three of you, there's a little sentiment out there about, well, you really should probably not be charging dues. On the other hand, if you are, you really need to be transparent and give the customer the choice. So just from the three of you, do you have any other comments or thoughts about that? If you could go back now to when this first started, would you still sort of offer these options for members to keep paying, or would you probably just shut down the dues billing? What do you think?
Yeah, I think that's an excellent question, Brent, because if, yes, I would absolutely go back and continue the options, because in some way, we're getting excellent feedback and people feel good about being able to help keep people employed. There's a certain number of people who want to do that and they want to support the club. There's some people that really don't care about the business at all, and it's just a place to exercise. And so, those people have their option. I think you have to be really transparent. But one of the errors we made is that, having made lots of attempts to get people to respond to your communications in the past, knowing that a lot of people don't, what we initially put in our documentation, and it's all online. So we sent out emails trying to get people to respond. We could see that people would open those emails in a lot of cases and not make a selection. But one of the errors we made is that we said, hey, if you don't make a selection, we're going to assume option one. So if you want to take option one, which was to pay now and get the free month later, but there were too many of those. I was very concerned after seeing the people that were opening up these emails, not making any selection, and then really, in our mind, ending up in that bucket where we were going to bill them. We backed off from that because we think that the worst thing we can do is bill somebody today that didn't want to get billed. And so we've gone back to the well, and we're actually sending out a direct mailer on top of emails, and we're also going to do a robocall sort of thing, encouraging people to make their selection. And if we don't get a response from people, we're not going to bill them. So we've kind of changed, in a more member-friendly manner to address that, because we think, again, protecting that dues, the members, we figured out pretty quickly that picking off a very limited number of members was a very bad financial decision coming out of this.
Yeah, no, that's really good insight. And I think your willingness to change and modify, is a credit to you and your organization, because we all earn the right to continue learning through this as we go, right? Lori, do you or Joe have anything to add to that about your decisions and philosophy around that topic?
The only thing I would say, two things about the option one with the gift card. One, I do think it is a great option, and it's a win-win for both sides, because the member gets, 25% return on their money, and then it's a Villasport gift card. So when we reopen, hopefully they'll spend it on spa treatments or personal training, and it gets our employees back up busy again sooner than if members weren't flush with these gift cards. But the one thing we didn't really do is even though our members brought it up, we did not bring up choosing as a reason for choosing this option to continue, enable us to continue paying our employees, because so much was unknown. Like, we didn't know how many people would choose the option, and if it was very few, that money really wouldn't be enough to continue paying all our employees. And we didn't know if this is initially a 2-week thing or a 6-month thing. So it's hard to commit that far out in the future. So we kind of stayed silent on that part of it, even though it is the primary reason for offering that option.
Yeah. Not to keep jumping in, but I think that's just another valid point that everybody listening should really pay attention to. When you're communicating out to your members, especially, and staff as well, you really need to leave it a little bit open-ended, because we really don't know how long it's going to run and how the dynamics might change. So you don't want to be untruthful and you want to share as much as you can, but at the same time, avoiding specific dates and specific uses of money and specific strategies because they could change, right? Yeah. Joe, back to you.
One other option that we added to it, because we knew when the dues actually came out and people saw that, and if they hadn't responded, they may have a reaction at that point. So not only do we tell them the different options that they have, but one of their options also is that we'll refund them those dues lines, and we'll still extend their time and then start it once the club reopens. You know, another big part of this, Brent, you brought up that many of us had the advantage of being smaller organizations and being located in one town. You know, we've been here for 42 years. And so we've worked on building a relationship, you know, with the town. And because we are local, we can also let them know that we can deal with everybody on an individual basis, which can be a little more challenging, you know, when you're connected to hundreds of clubs. But with us, we can do that and even tell them. And if we screw up on anything, the great thing is we can fix it. And that's the advantage of being local. So we want to do everything we can to make sure they're aware of that advantage of dealing with a local organization.
Yeah, well said, Joe. Thanks for that. I agree with that 100%. So let's talk now a little bit about services that you're offering to members ongoing. Most clubs, of course, are doing some sort of streaming videos, giving members workouts at home, classes at home, etc. Are you doing anything beyond that? And even within what I've described, are there any lessons you've learned or tips that you might share with the audience about if you are going to do that, here's some things to keep in mind? Any of you can respond first. Go ahead.
Well, I think we're doing all the traditional things that everybody's doing as far as the online classes. Also, we have instructors that are coming into the club and going on to Zoom to be able to teach classes to the people who traditionally come to their classes. And what they're trying to do is they're trying to do it at the same time they always held their class. Because one of the things that I think we all have to be aware of is there's a lot of people who got used to exercising at a certain time of the day. And the concern is that they aren't doing it at that same time, maybe there's a chance they won't come back because they just totally got out of the habit. So we're doing that. Another thing is messaging the members. And I found out the easiest way to do it is I told my whole staff, look at, just go through your Facebook friends. As you go through them and you see people who are members of the club, send them a private message just to say, hey, listen, miss seeing you. Hope to see you. Hope to see everybody back soon. Just something to let them know that you're thinking about them. It's a simple thing, but I know one thing is that the simple things can make a big difference to a lot of people.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Teaching the classes at the time they were used to. I think that's awesome. Okay, what about Lori? You, Robert, anything to add?
Well, we're continuing the things we always did. Our next week at Villasport email is now, you know, titled the at-home edition. And instead of the typical thing of letting them know about all the great events and programs and things coming up the coming week, it's providing them tips and tools and information to stay healthy and to work out and all that sort of thing, you know, while they're away from the club. And then we're continuing our monthly online newsletter, again, sort of more focused on, you know, the at-home version of it. So all our regular forms of communication, as well as all our regular social media postings. And then the other thing is, even though all our hourly staff are on zero, you know, reduction of hours, we've had a lot of our group exercise instructors just want to teach on their own, and they have their own loyal followings from the club, and they're posting on their Facebook, and they're doing their classes just because they want to. So that's going on as well.
So Lori, if you have some of these personal trainers, group exercise instructors, et cetera, teaching these courses, and they're not really coming into your club and producing them from Villasport on their own time, or are you still compensating them for that, or that's something that they're doing on their own volition, or how are you handling that?
Yeah, wasn't even our idea. They just started doing it of their own volition. So no, it's not in the club. We can't have any what would be considered non-essential things going on in our clubs right now based on the guidelines. So the only ones officially doing our classes are our group exercise directors and our fitness directors who are salaried employees. So from each of the 7 clubs, they're taking turns. And the videos could either be at home to show people what it's like to do at home, or they might be filmed at the club.
Okay. All right. And Robert, you?
Yeah, obviously, we're doing the many similar things using both Zoom and Facebook Live. As I mentioned earlier, far and away the most popular ones that we've done revolve around Mr. Ben, who is doing children's PE, and that's gotten massive distribution, even compared to things like yoga or cycling classes, all of which, we're doing all the traditional things. We're also having what I think is surprising success with personal training, online personal training sessions via Zoom. We've got over 100 of those appointments booked right now, and that is climbing pretty quickly. And so we're excited about being able to generate a little revenue from that. Hopefully that'll pick up as we go along. One of the things that we've done around all of this, including what we're doing with maintenance and janitorial staff and supervisors, is we are taking lots of pictures and photography and using that in our social media that we can then push out to members, because we think it's super important for those members to know that we have people in the clubs working on their behalf. And particularly since we've told people, hey, give us your dues now, and we'll use it on staff. And so we're continuing to market to members, all of those people that are working to push that stuff out.
Okay. So somewhat on that same topic, are any of you doing anything sort of fun and entertaining, like the virtual happy hour, for example, either with your staff or members? Anything creative come out of your employee teams? Lori, go
Yeah,
ahead.
we're actually today, we're having our first Villasport Hump Day virtual happy hour, where at 5 o'clock California time, we'll all have our favorite beverage in hand, and we'll all get to see each other's home work environment and perhaps the furry friends we have that are now our work companions. So it's just a way for all the GMs and AGMs across all our clubs and our Villasport home office team of about 15 people to get together and see each other and not actually talk about business for 1 hour. And then we'll see how it goes, and probably keep doing that.
Okay. Either two of you have something to add?
I think we're still at maybe the boring stage for the most part, focusing on all the critical things that have to get done. So no, I haven't, my marketing team hasn't come to me with those ideas yet. Maybe at some point. I think probably the most fun part will be are the classes that the teachers are teaching. But maybe Lori, you can email out all your ideas that you're coming up with in your program.
Yeah, there are multiple clubs that are doing some fun things. Not so much, I don't think, with members yet, but certainly with staff, where they're having, hobby night, and they're sharing how to do a particular craft, or how to create something, cooking demonstrations, trying to keep employees engaged, not just on the crisis at hand, but also just keeping them bonded together through some interactivity. So we've got about 12 minutes left, and I want to take some of that time to answer, some of the questions that we're getting online. If the two of you might weigh in, if it's something you feel like you have an opinion about. The first question that has come in that I think bears answering is, there's been quite a bit of discussion about, wow, when we reopen, things are not going to be the same. Our club of the future may be a little bit different than it was when we closed our doors officially. It's early on still, of course, but what are you envisioning how the clubs might be different once you reopen? Robert, you want to start with that first for us?
Yeah, I guess the first thing I'd caution is to make sure that we don't overreact to that as well. I think this is really a terrible circumstance that we find ourselves in, and Corona is a very serious matter. But if you look back historically, after every major event, whether it's previous pandemics or financial crises or the 9/11, everybody said things will never be the same. People won't travel as much. We're going to have all of these things. And, eventually people did go back to and sometimes increase the things that were very much said that weren't going to happen anymore. So I see that as a ray of hope anyway, that we will be able to go back to what we were doing. Obviously, I see in the short term significant disruption. For example, we've ordered electrostatic sanitizing equipment that you spray the clubs and that sort of thing. Not because I think that's the only way we're going to get clubs clean, but I think we are going to have to market better how clean we are and how we're operating and making it a safe environment. And so, not only will there have to be, real improvement in terms of the way we sanitize the clubs, but we're going to have to be really smart about how we market and push that. But I'm, at short term, I think you're going to see problems with boutiques in particular, where, local boutiques here would easily put 60, 70 people in a relatively small room. That's going to be very difficult for them to do going forward. So, I think we're going to see people taking some equipment out of their cardio rooms and spreading equipment out a little bit. But I do anticipate that we're going to have a slow recovery as people look to see, whether it's safe to go back to the clubs.
Okay. All right. How about Joe? Why don't you go next?
Yeah, I think this is kind of one of those things. Are you the kind of person that looks at the glass as half empty or half full? And, I think I look at it as half full. And I do not have a gloom and doom feeling about what will happen after this. I think I kind of have the feeling it's going to be more like the end of World War II, where the whole world feels like it's been relieved of something. Do I think there's things that we have to make sure that we maintain, no matter how high a level we've been doing it, at a higher level? And that's, as Robert was talking about, the cleanliness of the centers. I think that people do trust us. They know we've always worked to keep our facilities clean and well maintained. I think, there's going to be some people who initially be afraid to get out, but you can only hibernate for so long. I mean, even the bears have to come out at some point. And so I look at it as a positive thing that's going to occur. Another thing that was brought up was the kind of marketing that we'll be doing. It may not be talking about all the different programming and all the different great things about life, even though that'll be part of it. It will be all the things we're doing to help them build up their immunity system by being back in the club, and all the things that we're going to be doing to keep their immunity system clear of any other kind of issues that they may be concerned about. But I think, down in Sarasota, Florida, where I go a lot, there's the iconic statue of the sailor kissing the woman. And I look at that, and that's what every time I see it, I think that's what's going to happen once we all get through this.
I think it'll be a celebration, right, of team members and club members when the doors open, and that'll be a joyous day for sure.
It will be.
Yeah. Lori, you want to add anything else to that before we kind of have some closing comments and questions?
Sure. We kind of are thinking of our club membership in 3 buckets. There's going to be that bucket that are dying to get back and can't wait, and will be there the day we open the door, no matter what. And then there's going to be a bucket of people who are still a little leery of, germs and contact, and might have more of a wait and see attitude. And then the third bucket might be people who are just they'd love to come back, but they experience such economic hardship that they just can't do it at this point. So we're, prepared to have anywhere from a half to 2/3 of the membership, fully paying membership base when we reopen our doors that we had at the time we closed. And so we're creating our reopening plan right now across all facets of the business, from what our organization chart should look like, we're actually going to take our frontline staff and have all the managers rank them in 3 buckets. Like the top third are the first people we call back, the middle third are the second group we call back, and the bottom third are, if we need them, we call them back, but chances are we might not as soon as we open. And so to be prepared that we're calling the best back first.
In Texas, we call that culling the herd. A more positive description is top grading. But I think that's a good strategy too. There's an opportunity here to upgrade staff, policies, classes, across the board, as many of you have discussed. There's one follow-up question related to what the new club is going to look like after you reopen. Are any of you contemplating adding a sort of virtual addition to your membership options or something going forward based on what you're experiencing now?
We had already started using a personal training program called Ladder. I'm not sure of the other opportunities yet to be able to go online, because a lot of these things are done in small groups. One-on-one training is a little bit easier to do from that perspective. I'm sure we'll learn over the next few weeks if there's any other options to it. It's not my primary concern. My primary concern is to get everybody back in the club and build up the things that we do inside the center.
Okay, very good. And Robert or Lori?
I guess,
I see.
Go
Go
ahead,
ahead, Robert.
please go ahead, Lori.
Okay. I'd say that for that group that maybe really want to come back, but they're not quite ready as soon as we open, we'll keep our virtual things we're doing now running for a while, and then obviously use this time to see. But like Joe, that's not our first priority. Our first priority is getting back to regular operations.
Okay, Robert, quickly.
Yeah, I don't think that we see that as a major part of the business going forward. We've always had a little bit there. To be honest with you, we're really about brick and mortar at this point, and our family-centric orientation really makes that a necessity.
Okay, great. Thanks for your truthful answers and sharing all the advice so far. Can we go around the horn and have a parting bit of advice for the people out there that are listening? So many of them are sheltered in place. Their clubs are closed. They're concerned about surviving and thinking through the things that you've shared with them. But is there a nugget or a final closing sort of word of wisdom you might offer them? And Lori, I'll let you go first, then Robert, and then Joe.
Well, I would say to everyone, you're not alone. You're part of an industry that is known for sharing and helping and, resources, advice, whatever, from Rex Roundtables to URSA, Club Solutions, Club Industries. There's no shortage of webinars to attend. There's no shortage of people out there willing to help. So if we all work together, I think our industry can return to be in an even stronger position than we were before.
Great. Robert?
I think this is the time to be really aggressive. I saw a survey recently that 50% of business owners don't think they can make it more than 3 months, and that 15,000 retail locations are going to be closed as a result of this. So this is the time to be really aggressive and ask for what you want. Let's employ our own sales tactics and make sure that we're selling, to the people who are important to us, lenders, landlords, anybody who is out there that is, that we're indebted to let them know that we're in this together, and that, educate them that they may think that they're getting ahead by holding us accountable, overly accountable at this point, and not really going to make our business survive, which is ultimately a disaster for them. And so I think, make sure you have a plan. I talk to club owners, still don't have a good idea of what their cash flow looks like. A detailed plan of when they're, what bills are going to come in, how much they're currently liable for paying, and what that, when they're going to run out. Know when you're going to run out of cash. So you can take whatever moves you need to do, and know how aggressive you have to be, and if you need to, share that with the people who are going to, ask you to keep paying your rent, for example, and then do everything you can to lower expenses. It took me 5 days last week to realize that the reason the heat wasn't on my office is because somebody had turned the breaker off to the heating unit in my part of the building. Because we're just that serious about saving money. I just thought the temperature was turned down. So I think it's and then last but not least is the government is coming to try and help you. I don't know if they'll actually end up helping us, but I think most people on this phone call should be really cognizant of the Paycheck Protection Program, some of the SBA loans that are available, as well as I think 2 other ones that I think are particularly valuable for us are the Employee Retention Credit for employers, as well as the delay of employer payroll taxes. And I think more is coming.
Okay. Yep. Fair points, Robert. I think the government's intentions are well, and I think they'll do something. Whether it's going to be soon enough, or as soon as we want it, I think that's a question for sure. Joe, final words.
Yeah, I don't mean to get religious on you, but I think this is why God made us leaders, and it's to lead. I think the most important thing that we have to do is show the confidence that we have that we will get through this. Because the last thing you want to do is scare your staff. So I think we need to lead from a position of strength. Just a quick story. I had to tell a story about flying one night to the Chamber of Commerce in relation to the economy. And I told them the story of a night when I was a relatively new pilot, took off from Tampa at 12:30 in the morning, 10 miles out of Tampa in the middle of the night. I lost every single thing on my airplane except for my engine. And I flew for 3 hours with a flashlight in my mouth, shining on a compass, trying to find a place to land. And eventually I found a place to land. And I remember when I finished telling the story, someone said to me, she goes, "Do you ever get scared flying?" I said, "No." She goes, "You never get scared flying?" I said, "No." She goes, "Never?" I said, "No." I said, "Do you ever want to look over and see your pilot scared?" She said, "No." And that's the way it is right now with us as leaders. Sully, when he talked about taking the plane into the Hudson River, they said, "Well, how was it?" He goes, "Well, I was completely confident. I was strong. I was totally in charge." He goes, "Underneath, I was horrified, but no one ever saw that." So even if you have your own fear, nobody can see that, else your whole organization will be one of fear.
Yep. Thanks, Joe. Well, thank the 3 of you, all fantastic Rex members and great examples, not only within Rex, but throughout the industry. Eddie, I'll throw it back to you to close it out.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, all of you, for taking time. I know what a crazy busy schedule everybody has right now. Can't thank you enough for helping share all your ideas. I want to say, to Joe's point, this past week on the Rex calls, we've been talking about Patton's famous quote, which is success is how high you bounce when you hit bottom. And, we've hit bottom as an industry. We're bouncing back. We're going to lean on each other and come through this. We're going to continue these webinars every Wednesday at 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern. And we've now formed a partnership with Club Solutions Magazine. And so you'll see the marketing and the invites coming from them every Wednesday with a panel, with Brent leading the panel, with other Rex members helping share and guide everybody through this challenging time. This particular Zoom video will be available on the Rex Roundtables website, probably starting tomorrow. I'll have our staff get that up there. And we just want to say thank you very much for all your inspiration, Joe, Lori. And if you notice, Robert was looking behind him when Joe said something about the bear coming out of hibernation. So, Robert, I didn't see it behind you, so.
I'm looking around. It's that time of year.
I think it's good. Well, thank you, everyone. Have a great rest of the week. Look forward to talking to you soon on Monday and Tuesday. Thanks.
Thank you.